right. Good day, everybody, and welcome back to the Legend Status podcast. Today, we are joined with a very, very special guest, someone who's a great friend to me, a great contact, acquaintance, somebody who's been in my life for a very long time, and someone that just I love shooting the shit with and making fun of. So it's a good time. Today, we have the co-owner of Acera Insurance over in Airdrie. Started in the business back in 2012. And just overall very knowledgeable, somebody who understands the insurance business inside and out, has taken the firm that he is at, or I'm not sure what you guys call it, but
Yeah.
to great lengths, and have done great things, insane client retention, sales ridiculously increased, but also the systems and processes behind that. Today we are joined with my good friend, Mr. Brent LaRivière.
My
Welcome,
man.
brother. Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, man. I'm super happy that we could do this. It's been a while since for us to catch up, and I thought this would be also a good way to do so. Why don't you just start with, tell the people who you are, how this came to be, a little bit of background, all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a long story. I guess now, like talking to you, I haven't realized I've been doing this for like 13 years, which is nuts.
Insane.
Because I remember I met you working at Mitsubishi dealership, I guess 14, 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I kind of decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I was going to go back to school. I was going to get a business degree. So while I was looking at going back to school, it was kind of like a year away before I could enroll, whatever the case was. And I'd like to say like I knew insurance was the path. I fell into it, is the honest to God's truth. I just saw like kind of an ad online on Kijiji. And it was like, insurance broker will train you, all this good stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. Dropped off a resume, had an interview, got hired. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm in insurance now. Had no idea what it was. Like I had a car, so I knew I had to have car insurance, but I was, 19 years old, something like that, 19, 20.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to get on with that place. It wasn't the place that I ultimately down the road deemed was for me and kind of left after 4 years. But, I'm thankful that they did bring me on and expose me to what insurance was, because now I think it's a very integral part of society. You can't have the nice cars, the houses, the boats, everything that you want without having insurance for it, essentially. And not just legally having to have it, but protecting your assets, right? Your house, your car, all that good stuff. So no one in my 13 years has been like, I can't wait to get that sick insurance policy. Like no one says that. They're like, hey, I can't wait to get that sick car, or hey, we're buying our first house, we're buying our dream house. And we essentially, pave the way for them to achieve that, right? So it's a really cool business, and I'm super, super thankful to have kind of been in it the last 13 years, I guess, which again is crazy. But
So what kept you in it?
well, I almost quit like 6 times. My first probably, I want to say year, and then maybe almost the second year. Like it's just, it's a lot, and you don't go to school for it. It's essentially you do like a course that for a motivated individual could take them less than a couple months. Like it's very dry, it's very boring. The truth be told, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about on half of the stuff, right? So most of it is really, an apprenticeship on the job is where you learn how to do it. And I was lucky that even though at my old place, there was really no training, no structure, no anything. I had not older to me at the time. I think he was like 40, which I'm 40 now, damn near. So
We got to be careful. We got to be
yeah,
careful
I got to be
with what we
careful,
say.
but he was the man. His name was Gary, and he, I would ask him, and he didn't have to help me. Like that wasn't his job, but I asked him 50 questions a day. So he helped me, but what kept me in it, I struggled for my first 1 or 2 years. Like I made nothing. Coming from the car industry, you're on full commission. So when I got into insurance, my options were essentially, the owner was like, hey, you can go on salary and make X amount, or you can go on full commission. Me not knowing a single thing about insurance, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go full commission. And I not starved, but I was not doing well the first year or two. How insurance works essentially, and every place is a little bit different, but at the time, as a insurance broker, you have your book of business, and you're paid a percentage of commission based on the clients that you have. When you have no clients, there's no commission. What's really cool about insurance and separates it a lot from other businesses. And I'll take the car business, for example. You can do very well in the car business, as you know. You sell a car, you get your commission, and that's kind of the end of it. You'll follow up with your client, whatever case is, hopefully help them down the road. But that's, you make your commission, away you go. With insurance, every year that you keep that client and retain them, you're paid again. Our commissions are not very big, that's the honest truth, but having a large book of clients year over year, renewing their policies, and then selling new clients, new policies, you start to do quite well. So, my first year or two, I was not doing well. I had to market myself. I had to learn, what was insurance. I was no expert. Like, should I be selling this $700,000 house policy where I didn't know anything? So my first step, where I really, after wanting to quit like 6 or 7 times, the honest truth is I don't know why I didn't, but I did see the opportunity. I was like, hey, so you're telling me if I do this amount, I'm going to get paid X amount, and then next year I'm going to make like it. You can kind of really, and that's helped me a lot to scale.
Compound in a sense, right?
Compounds, right? So once I kind of figured the structure out, I was like, okay, so you're telling me I can make this, and then next year I'm going to get X amount more as long as I was able to map out a plan essentially. So my first step was actually to learn what insurance was, the coverages, the companies, because as a broker, I don't work for, I'll use Allstate as an example. Allstate is Allstate. You call Allstate, you get one price. I'm fortunate that we have access to the most companies in Alberta by far. The main companies I use every day are probably about 20, but we have access to well over 100, which sounds crazy, but there actually is 100. The main ones are about 20 though. Those are where you're going to put like 80% of your business. And then, the kind of tricky ones, the odd ones, you're going to go to what's called MGAs, and they kind of specialize in maybe a high risk house or a high value home or whatever the case is. My first step was to kind of learn about the business. I can't sell a product if I'm not an expert in it. So that, after year one, I really dedicated myself to actually learning what insurance was. And the next step was to market myself accordingly, because I wasn't getting leads. I wasn't, I don't know if you've experienced this, but you always think you're going to sell to your friends and your family and your buddies
For
first.
sure I have.
And it's always the last people, right?
100%.
And it was mostly selling to people I've never met, strangers. And at the time I was doing mostly home, auto, some small business stuff. So marketing yourself accordingly, like where's my next lead coming from? That's where I really started. By the end of year two, I started to kill it. And what made that possible for me was, there's not a huge secret here. Anyone could do it. I made relationships with dealerships like yourself at the time, finance managers, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, where every single month I could count on, hey, I know I'm going to get like 10 leads from this person. I know I'm going to get 20. So it blew up. By the end of year, that took a while to get in place, because who am I to them, right? I knew you,
For sure.
I knew a few other people in the business that were like, yeah, I'm gonna send that to Brent. He's my buddy.
Right.
But how do I get other people who I've never met in my life to essentially like take a chance on me, when most of the time they had, their guy already, right? So
Right.
it was a crazy time like then, man. And I think, we didn't talk a lot back then because we were both super busy, but I literally was working 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every single night, and building my, referral business essentially, because I believed, I was like, that's the way that I'm going to be able to be successful in this business. And it got to a point where I had so many referral partners that like I would, on my way home from work, I'd be like driving, and hopefully no cops are listening to this, but I get a text and I absolutely would look at it because I just couldn't not. Hey, I need a quote right now. I'd literally like pull over to the side of the road, pull up my laptop, connect to the Wi-Fi on my phone or the internet, whatever, and start quoting someone like on the middle of Deerfoot, on the shoulder, like just crazy stuff, right? But the reason I did that at the time was someone would reach out to me that I've never done business with, and I wanted them to have like a really good experience and be like, hey, this guy gets back to me, he takes care of me right away, like someone that they could rely on. So
For sure.
that went on for a couple years, and I started to do really well, very, very well. And then I decided, myself and the owner, I'm not gonna. We didn't really get along very well. And there was, everyone's been experiences. There's some promises that were made, and that were held up to on my end and just never kept on the other end. And so I decided, I was like, hey, and at that time, like I didn't grow up like super well off by any means. Like we weren't starving, but like I was very lucky. My mom put, everything she could into me and my twin brother. We played on 3 basketball teams, and it was not cheap, but she always came up with the money somehow. Um, you know, what an angel. But
Seriously, yeah.
essentially, when I was, all of a sudden I'm making, a couple hundred grand a year, where, I've never seen that kind of money in my life. It was a really big step for me to be like, okay, I'm going to leave this. Because when you leave insurance, you essentially leave your book of business, you leave all your clients where they're at, and you have to start over. So I'm going to leave like a 200 plus grand a year job. And I was probably going to make significantly more than that because, the renewals, right? And then I'm
Of
selling more
course.
clients. So you're just building. But I got to a point where I was like, okay, 3, 4 years from now, what do I want to do? Well, I don't know if I want to necessarily be working for this guy. We don't align, we don't get along. And if it's just a money thing, like it has to be more than that. So I took a gigantic step back in a sense of, starting over. So I didn't take that lightly. Like I didn't want to be that person that jumped around and around and around and around, right? Especially for my clients, because they've been with me at that point for 2, 3, 4 years. I wanted to find a forever home essentially. And that's when I met. Well, that's not when I met him, but I've known my partner Graham, who he's the best since I was like 15. And not to get into a crazy long
No,
story,
no,
but it's
please
kind of
do.
a
Please do.
small world. Is the business that I was working at, his dad used to own. And a few years before I started, he sold to then my boss. And I had no idea. And then one day, he's in the same business. He's working with his dad and his brother in insurance as well. And he was like, "Oh, you're working at this place?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, my dad used to own that." I'm like, "Crazy." So I'm like, "Your dad used to be my boss as well." It was a small world. But
Right.
we've been playing basketball together since I was like 15. And so he was kind of like my first, like, hey, I'm going to go sit down with them. So I go sit down with them. It went great. Like for my interview, like we knew each other, we got along well, but I essentially just brought my numbers for the last like 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
I was just like, man, like I could tell you all these things that we do, whatever the case is. Like, here's my numbers essentially. And they're like, oh wow, this is fantastic. And it wasn't, they gave me a good offer, whatever the case is, but I was like super transparent in the fact that I was like, hey, like I want to own something one day. I want to have my own shop. I think I could do a really good job. And I kind of led with that. And then I kind of wasn't 100% sure about it. And I honestly left it for like 6 months. And so I kept working. And all of a sudden, just one day, it was literally just like, I can't be here anymore. This is just like toxic environment. It's not where I want to be. And 5 years from now, I'm not going to get to where I want to go, or at least I don't have to get there, but I want some forward momentum essentially, right? So finally, I decided to kind of move shop over to, at that time, what's called A-Win Insurance with Graham and his dad and his brother. So it was really like a family shop. At the time, there was those guys, myself, and then one other girl, Alex, she's with us still. She's the best. She runs our commercial team. So there was 5 of us. And that was back in 2016, 2017. And then about 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, Arnie, who's Graham's dad, decided he kind of wants to retire, and he was the one who owned the office, and that was kind of Graham's time and my time to,
To jump
to
in.
yeah, to jump in. So, and it's been really good. It's been the last 4 years, like I could go on. There's been so many changes. Like we moved from a 1,000 square foot office with 5 of us to now we're just about 30 people, which is amazing. And then we're like, hey, we're running out of room here, so we had to buy a new office. We renovated it, 7,000 square feet, and we're out of room again. Which is
Jeez.
it's good. It's just we didn't expect it to happen so quickly.
Right.
And lucky for us is like we brought on a lot of really quality, good human beings first off, and I would say more than half of them had no prior insurance experience. So sometimes when I speak to other business owners and other entrepreneurs, they're like, well, how do you hire all those people? Probably half of them are people that I knew, whether they were friends, buddies,
Yeah,
acquaintances.
good people.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of them, a lot of times I kind of get like an eyebrow raised or you shouldn't hire your buddies or whatever the case is. You know what? I think they deserve a chance, especially for what we were building. I was like, hey, like this is a really good opportunity for you. It wasn't like this big sales pitch. It's like they know I've been doing this a long time. They know I'm pretty good at it. They weren't happy with what they're doing. And it's all walks of life. Like I have my one buddy who's I've known since I was 5. We went to preschool together. He was an electrician for 5 or 6 years. He was like, I just can't do it anymore. And he started fresh as an insurance broker. And now, not that I hate to admit it, but he is very key. He works alongside me, managing my book of business, and I couldn't do it without him. But there's so many people that we brought on that, whether I knew personally or at least kind of arm's reach. And our whole thing is we want to hire just good human beings, good people, and we will teach you how to do the job. And it's worked out well. But it's kind of funny that most people that we hired, and now they've been with us for, anywhere from, Alex has been here even before but most people have been here with us for, 4, 5, 6 years. And now they're experts and now they're growing and now they're doing very well. And the other part of that too, and I know I'm blabbing on here a little bit, but there's just
No,
so
I'm
much
happy
to,
to hear this.
to talk
Yeah.
about is, systems and operations and processes. And that was what was lacking at my old place. It was kind of like, just do whatever you want. And the honest to God's truth is, even when I got here, we had 5 people and they all kind of did their own thing. And that's fine in a sense. But when, we decided, hey, we want to grow, we want to do well, we had to have systems in place. So when we brought on a new person, it wasn't like, hey, do it this way. Oh, Brent said to do it this way, but Graham said to do it. Like, we
Right,
wanted
right.
to standardized approach to make it, one, less like complicated for them so that, they could succeed essentially. And then two
100%.
is, you've experienced this, I'm sure, when you're busy and you bring someone on, it's not like all of a sudden you bring 1 or 2 people on and you're less busy. You're fucking more busy than you were because you have
100%.
to train them, right?
100%. 100%.
So instead of me just sitting in my office banging away at, my day, it's, okay, I got to slow down to teach this person what to do. Biggest, I think one of the biggest things that we did that was most beneficial to us was we hired, and it was tough to hire someone and pay them full time just to essentially train our staff. But once we had like a full time trainer on staff is when we really started to do well. So, we would hire someone and then they would sit with, her name's Mackenzie. She's fantastic. She's been with us now almost 6 years. When we kind of moved her role, because she was an insurance broker before, and we decided, hey, you know what, we need a full-time trainer because they need to sit down, they need to learn what insurance is. Like that's what I didn't have when I started. I didn't know what it was. So she essentially sits with them for, 1 to 2 months, however long it takes, and she gives them insurance 101. She teaches them how to use our system. She teaches them how to quote business. She teaches them, hey, what is this coverage? And then when they come to us, whether they're on the sales side or on the processing side, they have a base. And essentially we can take over from there. But that was one of the biggest things that has
Right.
led to our growth. And the other, we had 5 people that did all their own things. So in insurance, if I can explain it in a very, very, very simple way, and it's not simple, but someone calls in like yourself and you're looking for a quote, or they email me or whatever the case is. I'm going to, get some information I need. I'm going to quote the business out. I'm going to send them some options. And they're like, yep, perfect. I want to move forward with this. Okay, now what? So before, that would be me doing paperwork, 40 pages of paperwork to send out to the client for signatures essentially. And when I first started, like DocuSign wasn't really a thing, right? This is crazy to like say this stuff. Like it sounds
No,
like
it's
our
cool.
parents, right? It's like you with your cell phone. I'm like, so now I'm saying, oh, like 10 years ago, DocuSign, like online signature wasn't a thing. So a lot of clients came in. We used fax machine. Like I don't know the last time you used a fax machine, but it's like the worst way to communicate in the world.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And then the
Attention, this
Oh my
person.
God. Did you get it? Hey, I'm standing next
Yeah.
to the fax machine. It's just, but, or obviously we emailed paperwork and then they'd sign it. So, we had to do all the paperwork. 50% of the job, I would say, is like, you know, helping the client with their need. Hey, we bought a new house. Hey, we got some vehicles we want to insure. Hey, we bought a rental house, whatever. Quoting that out, getting them some numbers, answering their questions, and then them saying, yes, this is something we want to proceed with. That's 50% of the job. The other 50% that they don't see is the loads and loads of paperwork that goes into getting their insurance policy in place. So essentially, we do all the paperwork, and once we get it signed by the client, okay, now we have to get this to the insurance company. So back in the day, you would have to like mail it in. It was crazy. This is like when I first started.
Wow.
But over the last, like, I want to say close to decade, it's all done online now, obviously. So essentially, they take that paperwork that they got filled out by the client and they're going to enter it into their portal, their name. Like, it takes a long time, like from start to finish, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is. So what we did 4 years ago to really, this is where we went from we 3x'd our sales essentially, and we separated the two. So before, us 5 or 6 people, we would do everything. We would do the quoting, we would do the application, we would do the sending into the insurance company, and it was a lot. Like it was a lot. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we separated the two. So there's a processing team, and that's made up of about 10 people, and then we have our sales side, which is about 15 or so right now. So sales, they only focus on like handling their clients' needs, taking care of the quoting. If a client calls in, like you're one of my clients, if you're like, hey, Brent, I need some insurance on a new car, I take care of that for you. But on the back end, our processing team does all the paperwork. They do all the changes. So everyone kind of has their specific role, and we cut the job in half, and it's been tremendously successful. And that's part of our processes and our procedures and everything like that. So
Yeah, no, that's beautiful,
yeah,
man.
that's a
Yeah,
lot.
no,
I know.
thank you for going through all that. And actually, if we were to compare that to automotive, because I've recently looked at like a financial service manager's position, and most people don't
Mhm.
realize their jobs are essentially two ends of the brain. You have one side that's selling, it's creative, it's fun, and the other side that's detailed and very focused on paperwork. And guess what, not everybody is good at both of those things, right? So it's going to cause some people a lot of frustration and go, oh man, I really enjoy the people part of this, but I hate the fact that I got to sit down and go through all this
It's funny
paperwork.
you
So
say
it's
that.
pretty clear.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly it. And I'm actually like, I mean, we're good buddies, so but I'm actually pretty quiet when I'm not around people I know, right? When
Right.
it's like new people, whatever the case is, like I can put my face on whatever the case is, but like I love just sitting in my office and sending clients emails and banging out quotes and doing some marketing stuff. Some of our staff don't want to talk to clients at all, and that's fine. And it actually worked out. So it's funny you say that. Is it really did kind of separate the two personalities. And what we find now actually is whether you're in sales or processing, whatever the case is, we bring you on with an idea of where we want to place you, but you kind of really figure that out yourself. So what happens a lot of the time is, we'll bring on a processor and they're going to do a really good job. They're learning, and it's nice because you get to learn the other side of the business as well. It's one thing to sell a product. It's one thing to, know all these coverages, but okay, what happens when a client's like, I want to go forward? That's the one downside is our sales team has no idea how to do the paperwork. Like if I had to, and I don't want to, I've done so many over the years, but if I had to, I could do the paperwork from start to finish. Not nearly as quick or as good as our processing team because that's all they do. But I could do it. Where our sales guys now, our sales team, they wouldn't know where to start, right? So
Right.
they're not as well rounded in that sense. But what's really cool is on the sales side, they're experts. They know exactly what to do. They know exactly what this coverage is. They know, what companies to go to get quotes. And then on the processing side, it's the same thing. They know their job inside and out, which I think is better. But what I find is some, the processing team members are like, hey, you know what? I want to kind of dip my foot into sales. It's amazing. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what's been a lot different than kind of where I was currently at is I'm all for that growth. If you want to, take on another challenge, if you want to like grow and learn, and with that, typically with growth comes more money, which is not a bad
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. So that's kind of been our formula for the last 3 or 4 years is, typically we'll bring on a processor, and there's 4 or 5 of our processing team that they just want to process. They're happy processing. That's all they want to do, and it's amazing because we need them. Like it
Of
doesn't work
course.
without. And
That's
then
right.
the other half or so, it's kind of a revolving door in a sense that they want to move up, not necessarily move up, but they want to go try
Try
this next
different
step, right?
things. That's right.
And then yeah, that's kind of how we've grown the business the last 4 years to what it is today. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Congratulations, brother. That's so cool to hear. I know I've heard
good.
the story a couple times. Let's do some contrasting. Let's go back to, you talked about the struggle within your first year. Let's first and second year. Let's talk real numbers for any person who's
Yeah,
thinking about getting into,
yeah.
your field. Like, what were you actually making? I know it was a bit of a challenge, especially when you were making pretty decent money. Do you remember it all?
So like when I first started in insurance, when I got on, like I think I was making like less than minimum wage, man, because I chose the commission route. So I think like an insurance broker, like call it 2012, like brand new, didn't know anything. I think if I went on salary, I would have made like $35,000 a year, something like that.
Right, right.
Um,
And you would have made less than that,
yeah, and
clearly.
and that's not a problem. Like there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is like I just didn't see the room for growth.
Right,
It's like, okay, well, if I'm making 35 now, how can I make 80?
exactly.
Back then that was a lot of money. I guess now
Yeah,
it's tougher, right? When everything's going up, but it's so I can see. So I went the commission route, and it was, I probably made my first year. Like I bet you my T4 was like, yeah, like 30 grand. It was tough. The next year it probably went up to like 45, but it's like, okay, like I just made $15,000 more.
yeah. You
Okay,
doubled, or you're 50% higher, and
yeah, I'm like sick. And then by the end of year three, it was like, well over 150. So like I
nice.
went
Okay.
literally like from making 45 grand in one year to 150 the next. I was like,
Yeah.
and that I'd like to say it was easy. It truly was not. But that growth was just insane. And we're very fortunate to kind of have that same, you know, community at our office now. Is I have a plan now for all of our sales team that come on in the first 3 years, as long as there's about 6 or 7 things that they need to do. And yeah, they need to sell some insurance, but it's not like they're reaching these crazy numbers. Like back then, and this isn't going to mean a lot to a lot of people, but what I was selling about 120 to 150,000 a month in new business. Now, what that means is, your home insurance is $2,000 a year. Your auto insurance is 3,000. That's 5,000. So I was selling about 150 grand a month in premium back then, and that was a lot because premiums back then, as you know, were not
Hmm.
high. They've
Yeah.
probably doubled since then. So selling that amount of insurance back then was a lot. And the only other person that I knew at the time that was doing those kind of numbers was my now partner, Graham.
Right.
So it's kind of,
Nice.
yeah, it's kind of cool and kind of funny how that worked out. But and so now essentially we have a plan. When you start in our sales team, I have it all mapped out for you. You need to sell 50 grand a month for 3 years, retain this amount of clients, and you're going to make over six figures by the end of year three, essentially. And what's been really cool about that is most of our sales guys, they surpass that, which is really cool. Like it's a realistic thing. It's not like I'm not dangling a carrot or,
Hmm.
blowing
Hmm.
smoke up their ass, whatever the case is. It's like, here's the numbers, here's what you need to do. And it's just about consistency, right? So, that's what I find in this business too, is like just showing up every day, being consistent. And it's a little bit different, and I'm not beating up the car business, right? But it's a little bit different in the car game, right? It's like you could have an amazing month and sell 20, 30 cars and kill it and make a lot of money. Well, what happens on the first? You're back to zero,
Back
right?
to
Like,
zero.
and how many times in our business in our business when I was working at the dealership would, guys have a great month and the next month they do 4 cars, right? It
100%.
was the ebb and flow. So just being consistent in insurance is the key for sure, especially on the sales side. But it's it's interesting. We have guys that obviously exceed that quickly, and we have other guys that they don't necessarily, especially when they're brand new to insurance. Like you think you're going from, I don't know a lot of jobs that even if you go to school for that, by the end of year three, you're like, hey, you're going to make six figures. Like it's pretty cool in that sense. Like I know people that went to school for, engineering or this or that, and they don't have a job essentially because of the
Yeah.
economy or whatever it is. And,
Yeah.
and they come out of school 100 grand in debt. They have an arts degree, an English degree, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they can't get a job.
Hmm.
To me, that's crazy, right? And you come out with all this debt, and or I had one of the girls that has worked with us now for 3 years. She was kind of in that predicament. She went to school, straight A student, got an English degree. I can't remember what it was she wanted to do. She couldn't get a job. Everywhere wanted 4 or 5 years of experience. She's like, well, how do I get
Right.
experience?
Exactly.
Like when I'm literally just out of school, brand new. So, she's gonna be with us for, hopefully ever now. It's fantastic. It's a really cool business in that sense. I don't want to say it's recession proof, but during the whole COVID fiasco, I was a bit concerned, to be honest with you, just because I was like, hey, like, people aren't going to be buying houses, they're not going to be buying cars. Well, it was the complete fucking opposite, right? My God, like that's like, when we really started to grow tremendously. It was crazy. I thought it was going to be like the death of us in a sense. It was the complete opposite. Yeah, it was good. And even back then, like the insurance industry, not a lot of people know a lot about it. They just know, hey, I have to have it, whatever the case is. It is a very, very volatile industry in a sense that and especially in Alberta, for all the people that are listening, we're in kind of Calgary, Alberta, which, the stampede is popular, sure. Hailstorms are very, very, very popular, and natural disasters in Alberta. So, like, we get a lot of fires, we get a lot of flooding, we get a lot of hailstorms. And insurance companies do not like those things, obviously, because it's mass claims. So, every year, it seems, every couple years, we get like a massive disaster, whether it's, the Fort Mac fires a few years ago, the floods 10 years ago, hailstorms every single year. And I say it's volatile in a sense that what people don't realize is, okay, they had hail damage, their vehicle's written off for 50K. So were 10,000 other people's, right? So insurance companies, they kind of get a bad rep sometimes. They're like, oh, my premiums are going up, whatever the case is. But, insurance in the very, very basic format is the losses of a few are paid by the many. So, there's 10 of us in a room and we all pay insurance. The insurance company's hoping that, they hope none of them have claims, but that's just not how the world works. They hope, okay, maybe one or two of them have claims, and, those premiums that are collected from those other 8 people kind of pay for those. Well, what's been happening in the last few years is, okay, 10 people, 7 of them are having claims now, right? So it's a very volatile industry in a sense that people don't like to hear this, but insurance companies are losing a lot of money. And when they lose a lot of money, if you sold home insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, rental insurance, whatever it is, and you were only losing money on auto insurance, like that's it,
Right.
would you maybe not want to do auto insurance?
Exactly.
It's just a business thing, and it makes sense. And but that's a weird thing, because it's like, well, look outside, look out your window right now, you'll see 100 vehicles. What do you mean they don't want
Exactly.
to? They're an auto
Insure
insurance
them.
company, right? So
Right.
it's been a weird, we spoke briefly about this. And as much as I love insurance and everything, the one thing that I kind of, it's not resent, it's a very weird thing. The only sales job in a sense where, like, you're at a car dealership or you sell a house, sell homes, or mortgage broker, whatever you are, when you sell that mortgage, when you sell that house, when you sell that car, you know, those companies, if you're putting your mortgage with TD Bank or whatever the case is, they're happy. They're like, oh yeah, we got a sale. We're making money. Insurance is like the only one that's like, you could sell all the insurance in the world, do everything properly, do everything to their rules and guidelines, and like they're not happy. It's just a very weird thing. It's just
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
so you gave me this price of X amount. I sold this to the client at this, like what you set the premium as. They're happy, I'm happy, and you're not happy. It's a very, very weird thing, and it's been like that for the last few years. And it's just because, and the fact of the matter is, they're losing a lot of money, and there's a lot of other factors that are involved in it. Uh, but that's a weird thing for me, right? Especially in the sales world, it's like, no, I'm doing good. Like, I'm doing what you
Yeah,
asked me to do,
exactly.
and they're just not too pleased with
They're
it.
not too
So
keen on it.
it's weird.
Yeah, yeah, that is very odd to me. But it does make sense that when, like, who insures the insurers in a sense, right? Like,
Exactly right.
that's the real challenge. And I think when people start thinking about those things, you kind of go, oh, okay, well, that Yeah,
There's
everybody
insurance
is.
companies for insurance companies. And when
Exactly.
it all comes down to, in the grand scheme of things, not that we want to get too crazy, is, there might be really, truly only five or six insurance companies in the whole world. Like,
Right.
truly, that are like,
That's right.
there's hundreds, but the ones that are actually paying out the claims at the end of the day, there's very, very few, right? So it's an interesting business. I've been through the highs, the lows, the everything in between, but it's also what you make it as well, right? So a lot of brokers, they make the mistake of, they sell price, 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 price. And our whole focus, like, so our whole, I guess, mantra, you could say, is when a client comes to us, yeah, we want to save them some money, sure. Our main focus is going to be the best customer service they can experience. Now, that sounds corny, but it's literally when people call in, and I'm going to ask you this question, and it might be, I think I know what you're going to say, but when someone calls in, there's two reasons why they're looking for a new insurance broker or insurance company. There's two reasons. What do you think the first reason could be?
Like when they're looking for someone new,
Yep,
probably price.
98% of people say that. I would agree with you, but I would say probably that my actual number one is like service. My broker never gets back to me. He never emails me back. He never. It's 2 weeks. Like, that's crazy, right? And I don't disagree. So while I do think the price is important, and I agree with you 100%, I would say what's kind of made us different is someone emails us, we get back to them right away. Someone calls us and we're super swamped. It's Monday morning. There was just a hailstorm, whatever the case is. Even if we can't get to that client for 4 or 5 hours, like what they need, we'll call them and be like, hey, Drew, got your message. We're super tied up right now. I just wanted to give you peace of mind that I'm on this for you. And that kind of, like, at least they know that you're on it, rather than waiting and waiting and waiting
Yeah.
and waiting, right? So that's been a really big thing for us, which sounds corny because everybody says, oh, we have the best service. We're the best this. We're the best this. I truly believe that, our 1,000 Google reviews speak to that, but that's what we do above all. And so when someone comes to us for a review, we're going to focus on customer service, getting back to clients right away from the get go, and then also their coverage, because everybody has insurance. And, like, I was insurance for a year or two before I even knew what coverage was, right? So,
Right.
like, someone can have their insurance and they're like, oh, yeah, I have coverage. Well, you have no water coverage, your deductibles are 5,000, and you don't have this, 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 and this. And they have no idea. They just
Yeah.
think they have insurance, right? So we review their policies with the thought in mind is we're going to provide the best service, we're going to fix all their coverages, we're going to give them the best solution. And what happens, because we have such a big, robust market access with all of our companies, price follows. So typically what ends up happening is we focus, okay, we're going to do the best job we can for the client, we're going to review their coverages, we're going to fix all the gaps, and then we still end up saving them money because we have all these marks. So it's a really cool thing, and that's why, selling on price is all fine and dandy. A lot of my clients are like, hey, I got a quote for $200 cheaper. Can you review it for me? Yeah, okay. I look at it. It's like, okay, but, like, they're insuring your house for $300,000 less than what it's worth.
Right.
Worth the
Right.
200. Oh yeah, they just don't know, right? And we do this every day. Clients, I feel the same way. Is like, I don't know anything about taxes. I don't know anything about payroll, which sounds weird because we run a business. Graham's dad handles that for us, right? He's been doing it for 30, 40 years, right? So, but I don't know anything about taxes. I don't know anything about my accountant. He handles all that for me. He tells me, hey, Brent, you need to do this, 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 and this, and you need to pay this. I'm like, whatever you say. You are the expert, right? Like, I have no idea. So I've kind of taken that approach with insurance as well. Is, I don't tell clients what they need to do, but, I position myself as the expert over my decade plus experience. As, hey, totally up to you what you want to do. These are your gaps. This is what I recommend. This is how you should proceed. And most of the time they do, right? And I think that's the biggest difference when you sell on price. And again, price is important. I can't say it's not, but you're gonna sell on price and then you're gonna lose on price as
Yeah, and I hate the word because I think it's overused today now that sales and things like that, but it's truly about value. Like, what do you
well.
actually
100%.
receive? And I will say, for anybody who is listening, I've been a client of yours for probably all 13
Yeah,
years. I don't know.
probably. Yeah.
And I could tell you, I've never shopped you. And I can also say that I have never went very long, if even any moments, without good, proper service. So I
Appreciate it. Yeah.
can 100%. And I'll tell you, like, I have, a friend that's going to be on the pod as well that owns a restaurant, and I've sat in the restaurant and I've said the exact same thing. I go, I would not have you on here if, one, I went through your process, went through and had your product and it wasn't a good product. And it's also why you're able to scale and do so much better, because especially in the world of insurance, I find you are generally assisting people in their time of need. And not only their time of need, but they're most excited, they're most urgent, they need things immediately. So there is, having a good, robust team and a specialist and expert is going to show in those times, because again, you're likely not needed until you're needed. And when
Oh,
you are,
100%.
like,
You
everybody's
need to show
completely
up.
silent until you get an
Yeah.
email from someone and you go, okay, we got to move quick. But other than that, they
It
don't really need
happens.
you,
It
right?
happens a lot. Like, hey, I'm getting a new house. I take possession tomorrow. It's like,
Right.
holy shit.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's the one thing
There's
that's
no
been a little bit
consulting
of a
or
challenge, if is when we were 5 or 6 people, upholding those values and those processes of, hey, we're getting back to the clients right away. It's hard to keep that, because I look at other branches, and there's some offices that are a little bit bigger than us. We're the biggest in Airdrie, but there's some in Calgary that are a little bit bigger than us, and as they got bigger, their service got worse and worse and worse and worse and
100%.
worse. So there has to be a happy medium, and I'm not willing to sacrifice customer service or anything like that to grow. So it's got to go hand in hand. And again, we've been very lucky, and mostly because of the people that we have on staff, they buy into that as well. And when it comes from the top down, it's very easy for everybody else to kind of be like, hey, Brent's doing it, Graham's doing it. Victoria, who I haven't even mentioned, she's probably the most important person here. I don't even have a job title for her, but she does everything. She does all of our back end stuff. She does all of our forward facing stuff with insurance companies. I'd like to say she's an office manager, but she's a lot more than that. And it's funny enough, is a lot of the people that are here now, I worked with at one point. So I worked with her at my old office. She went on mat leave when I left. And then a year later, she was like, hey, I want to, get back to work. Can I come work with you, essentially? I was like, yeah, you
Most
can.
definitely.
And she's been with us now, yeah, like 8 years, 9 years. Yeah. So it's mostly, I can talk about, how amazing our sales are and all that, but really it comes down to like every single person here that does a good job, that listens, that they take constructive criticism, and they show up every single day. So that was another thing that me and Graham, my partner, we really align with is, and it's good and bad sometimes, because not that we get taken advantage of, but there's that fine line, right? It's like there's that give and take, and
Some
we're
boundaries.
always, 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 always doing like right by other people, even if it's maybe not in our best interest at times. And we just hope that, it comes back to us, I guess, in some way. So,
Well, and clearly it has, in, from a karmatic or a karma
yeah,
sense, obviously
yeah,
things have done well. And, I'm a believer, but I'm also a believer that, especially in business, it's something you can actually measure. Like, hey, we've done this well. And now that we've done all of these great things, even though if you've done right by 10 people and two of them take advantage of you, those other eight,
I know.
take it to another level. So, yeah, I do think that's pretty clear. Let's go to kind of what the future holds. Like, what does a Sarah look like? What are Brent's goals in that
Yeah.
process? What are Graham's goals? Like, where do you guys see this going, and what's kind of the next milestone?
It's funny you asked that, because Graham, for the longest time, we're like, we want to reach 100 million in premium. So right now we're about 25. So we're a quarter of the way. 4 years ago, we were like 7 million. So, I mean, we've grown tremendously over that time. So we've always said, hey, we want to be 100 million, we buy 100 million. There was never really a plan to get there. So almost last year, we hired like a CFO, essentially, like a business coach, essentially. And he's worked with many, many, many top firms, whether it's in the real estate world or the mortgage broker world or car dealerships or whatever. And He's awesome. His name's Tyrone. He's fantastic. But he essentially write down a plan, like step by step by step by step, because we want to get 100 million. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, at 100 million, how many people do you have to have? How many salespeople do you have to have? How many processing team do you have to have? How many management? And it was literally like a week and a half, 2 weeks of me and Graham like, really diving into the specifics. And there's a lot more to it than one would think. It's like, oh yeah, we just want to get to 100 million. Part of that is we need another office because we are running out of space now. So all these little things that, we're like, hey, we want to reach 100 million. That's a big goal. What are the next steps in order to get there? So, in short, our 5-year plan is to get to 100 million. We're going to have, about 120 staff, and that's really it. More importantly, sure, I want to get to 100 million. That's great. I can speak to this, and Graham can speak to this, and I think almost every single staff member can speak to this, is we have a place that everybody is like happy to come into every day. So when we built this new office in mind, we, it was a lot of money. We completely gutted it. We put like a gym in the basement. We put a golf simulator. We put showers. We spend more time Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 here than, most people do with their families, right? Because you go home, it's 5:36. You put the kids to bed and you're back at it tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And so we wanted a place where, everybody was genuinely happy to come into work. And, sometimes work is stressful. Sometimes work is work and it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. But I work with probably, 2 of my closest buddies, right? I get to see every day. And I work with like a lot of friends that I grew up with. It's every single day. And I remember, and not to go off topic here, but it's interesting looking back on it like 15 years later. So before I worked with you at Mitsubishi, I was like 18, fresh 18. And I wanted to buy like a car. I wanted to buy like a sick BMW, of course, because I'm 18, why not? Not knowing my insurance would be $700 a month. But anyway, so I worked at a restaurant serving from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Friday. And then from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I worked at Canada Post. And my mom worked at Canada Post for 30 years. Nothing against it. It was not for me. Now, I was 18 years old making $25, $26, $27 an hour back then. It was like amazing. Like it was, right. I'd go do my serving job for 5 hours. I'd go to Canada Post for 8 hours. Monday to Friday, I would sleep for 6 hours and then I go do it all over again, right? And I remember it was like my very first shift. They essentially put you in a seat and then they put a big box in front of you with 40 smaller boxes. Then they proceed to bring you a massive fucking bin of mail, like huge. And you essentially take the bill of mail, you look at the postal code and you sort it. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So I got my headphones in, I'm ripping away. Like this is my first day, my mom got me the job, I'm trying to do good. I'm not even like an hour in and someone comes up to me, they're like, hey, slow down, like you're going too fast, you're making us look bad. And I'm like, what? Like, what the hell is this? Like, no, like I'm just doing what I should be doing. I'm at work getting paid. Later did I realize that's, a union thing and seniority and all this, whatever.
Mentality.
Yeah, but so anyway, I'm plugging away. I got my, my iPod in at the time, and man, I think it's been like 4 hours. Like I'm killing it. I looked at my watch and it was like an hour and 20 minutes. And I was like, I cannot do this. So I did it for like 6, 7, 8 months. I was able to save up a boatload of money because, when you're 18, you're going out, you're partying. I was doing none of that. I've never done that. But I was just working. And, I got enough. I think I saved up like 20 or 30 grand and I was going to go buy that sick BMW. And my mom, was like, why don't you buy a house? I'm like 18, almost 19 at this point. Like, what do you mean buy a house? Like, I'm 19. She's like, no, like, I'll help you out. Like, I'll co-sign for you. You should buy a house. I mean, she was right. I bought said house and I ended up selling said house like a year ago that I bought when I was like, 19. And I made a very good amount of money on that house. So way more than I would have made on my busted down BMW, right?
Exactly.
But the reason I bring that up is, every day I would wake up from my 5 or 6 hours of sleep, I would dread going to Canada Post because I was just like, it drags on. There's no fulfillment. There's no forward momentum. There's no reward for working hard. It's just like, put in your time and away you go. Or every day, and for the last, I'll say decade, I've woken up and I've jumped out of bed. Can't wait to get to the office. Can't wait to do this. And and some days my days are completely fucked. I come in at 7 and I don't leave till 10, but I'm thankful for that. And if we weren't so busy, and if I didn't come in and my emails were literally like, I came in today before our meeting here and I had 300 emails. It's a lot, but it means we're doing a good job. It means people want to do business with us. It means that we're doing something right. It's interesting because I'm friends with other business owners in insurance, and we do a lot of new business a month and they do maybe 5% of what we do. And they're like, how are you? I'm like, well, what do you do with the rest of your day? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and not in a rude way, but I'm just like,
No,
it's interesting. So it gets busy a lot with the phones and the emails and the texts, but I try to remind myself in those times where I'm frustrated that like I'm super thankful for that, obviously, right?
for sure. Yeah, and coming a long way allows you to do that. And if you just woke up and that business was already there and it was doing those things, absolutely, it'd be frustrating. So the mark is 100 million in premium. So sorry, walk us through that. Like you said, that's premium per year, or
So right now our
because your
total,
book of business is
yeah,
different than your
right now our
premiums, right?
total book of business is 25 million. So essentially we have like about 8,000 clients. If you add up everyone what they pay for insurance, so you pay 5 grand a year, I pay 5 grand a year, that's 10 grand. All that added up equals 25 million. And that's where
I
we're
see.
at right now. So, I mean, we had our best year last year. We did about 4 million in new business, which beat our previous record by like a million. And this year, I mean, we're already past the 4 million. So like we're probably going to do closer to 6 or 7 million in new business this year. A lot of that is because we were able to hire a lot of good new staff and grow and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so that's what that looks like. And we have a plan to essentially hopefully get there in the next 5 years. If we fall short and we only do 88 million, I mean, we'll still be happy. But
Goodness,
more
yeah.
importantly, it's like we've created a place where people can kind of grow and learn and whatever their goals are. I know every single person that we hire, they didn't dream of becoming an insurance broker. Like I didn't. No one's
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe my partner Graham did because his dad
Yeah,
has been in insurance for like
right.
35 years.
Wow.
But maybe him and his brother were like, yeah, we want to be insurance brokers. They weren't. They went to school for something else and then they also fell into it like me, right? But what's really cool is what this gives you is something that you can earn a really good living on, a nice place to come in and work every single day with people that you enjoy working with, and stability. If you can make a good living at what you do and actually enjoy what you do, I mean, we're not all NFL and NBA players, but I think you're doing
Right.
pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. For your people that you bring on, how do you accelerate that process? Because if you were in your third year making, call it 150, selling 150 essentially in premiums, now you're getting people to do essentially a third of that, but getting them to a same, like how do you
Yeah. So
create
like
that
my
process for
first
them?
2 years in insurance, I probably sold like 10 grand a month. Like I did
Oh,
nothing.
I see.
My whole like pretty much my whole income on my third year was like me going from like 10, 20 grand a month in premium to all of a sudden going to like 150.
I
And
see.
it looks like it happened overnight. It didn't. There was a lot of work that involved. So when you ask me like what do we do? We have, and it's taken years to kind of put together, but just a process. Just it's literally like a 10-page document. You got to learn how to do this. You got to learn how to do this. You got to learn how to do this. Okay, cool. And then there's these 6 things that you need to do every day. And I'm perfectly happy to share those because here's the thing is there's nothing that we're doing in insurance that's like secret sauce.
Right, right.
We do the basics very, very, very well. So, one of them is for on the sales side, they get back to their clients right away within 15 minutes. And that sounds like unreasonable. And I don't want it to sound like we're running some kind of crazy operation over here.
No, no.
It's actually
It's a
cool.
standard.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
standard.
it's a standard, and they do that, and then the next step is okay. They have quotes out. They get their client quotes in their hands with between 15 different companies. It's a lot of work within 24 hours. They go into, and this is another thing that really, again, processes, procedures started. We never in insurance. You'll find if you're in the business, they are 10 years behind in technology. Like the programs, the software, it is brutal. So we kind of use some software and tools on the outside that really helped us scale. One of them is a tool called Agency Zoom. And all that simply is it's just a software. It's a sales CRM. That's all it is. So, it's just it's like your HubSpot or whatever the case is. And when they get a lead, they put the client's info in there. Once they quote it, they move it over to quote it. Okay, I've quoted that client. I've sent them the quote. And then the last step is essentially like selling the client. So once they've got confirmation the client wants to proceed, they move it over to sale it. And that sounds like a very easy and it is, as long as you're actually doing it, right? If you're putting in every single lead you get, okay, you can't help the client this year. They have an accident, they have some tickets. Okay, you put a follow-up 12 months from now, you're going to help them next year. And that was the biggest difference of why we had such a big year last year is all these years and years of using this software, all of a sudden we're getting leads from 2 or 3 years ago that they're following up with, that the client's getting their renewal and they're like, holy shit, my insurance went up a shit ton. And all of a sudden you're first in line to help.
100%.
Right. So just little stuff like that. And then one thing that I've done and Graham's done as well, that I didn't know where my next lead was coming from when I first started in insurance until I built up the pipelines. So we focus on, we have our top salespeople here, and the only difference between them and let's say like our, middle of the pack person is what they're also bringing in. Because the biggest difference is like we're bringing in like our office, myself, through our marketing, through everything, well over 60% of our new business every single month. The ones that do really, really well and kind of take that next step are also building those relationships like I did many years ago. So essentially, like I'm helping them do that. I'm helping them, hey, what is it that you want to sell? Who do you want to do business with? And actually setting up that relationship, that referral partnership. And as you know, the best referral partnerships are ones that are mutual. And that's tough in the insurance world because like you said, we're the last stop on the train, right? Someone buys their house, someone buys their car, then they're coming to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard for us always to kind of reciprocate those. But with our big referral partners, like we have referral partners with mortgage companies, real estate, car dealerships, they're the first ones. And it works both ways. But, to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, there's a process. And essentially there's 6 things that they need to do every day when they come in. They need to hit their target of 50 grand a month. And there's a few other details. It's interesting. And with all the new people that we've hired, I didn't come up with this, you call it a PDF, I guess, but I didn't come up with this package until about 3 years ago because I found, okay, we were hiring new people, right? And then they were sitting with Mackenzie, our trainer, and then all of a sudden they come to me and I have to teach them how to do, know how to sell, how to do this. So I just put it all into a document essentially. And essentially I give it to the new broker and he sits with that. I'm like, just literally follow this step by step. This is a map. This is a guide. There's no guessing here. Right. And the ones that do very well. And the ones that, what's really cool is the ones that don't do it, I'm not like super upset per se. It's like, okay, which of these are you not following? This one, this one, this one, because then I can figure out where you're falling short and then being honest about it and be like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing this. You know what? That's fine. No problem. But you say you want to sell 50, 60 grand a month in business. Okay, this right here, this helps that. So if you just focus on this next month, you're going to do better. And it's kind of funny if they're saying, oh yeah, I'm doing this, it's not working, and they're kind of not being super truthful, it doesn't allow me to prescribe a solution, right?
Exactly.
And I've seen it. I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot of it over my years. So that's really just following a plan. And that's the same thing with our processing team. It's like, this is what you have to do every day. Here's your map. Here's your guide. Having like something to refer to, it's like, okay, I need to do this, and check marking it off. It's something to be said, right?
Well, it goes a long way.
Right? It does. So, that in a very long about way, that's kind of really it. And there's, different cases and scenarios, but for the most part, that, PDF and that package is going to cover, 75% of what they need to be successful. The other 25% is on them as far as their attitude. They come in every day. They're willing to work, willing to learn. They're going to fuck up. I fuck up every day. Now, hopefully it's like almost never is it with like clients and stuff, but just, I make mistakes. Sometimes I have questions, whatever the case is, that is fine. but let's rectify it. Let's get to the root cause of it, right?
That's
And
right.
it's funny is you've never met Graham's dad. Super nice guy, like one of the nicest guys you ever meet.
No, I met him briefly.
You met
I
him,
met him
right?
briefly. I ghosted him a bit, but he was
Very
a really nice guy for sure.
stern, like not in like a scary way, but he's he's interesting. He's super nice. Like now, I've known him for a decade now. Like he's one of my good buddies. But when you first meet him, he's kind of like intimidating a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure. He's
I remember when
calm. He has a
like it's I'm and when I first started working for him, he, hey Brent, like you kind of fucked up here. Like why did you do this? And it wasn't like to berate me or to like, it's like no. He's like I'm asking because like if I can know the reason like why your thoughts were doing it this way, then I can help you correct it. And he was always like, and rather than make some excuse and be like, oh, I was just like, you know what, I fucked up. I don't know why I did it that way. And he was like, no problem. That's fine. This is how you do it moving forward. And that kind of stuff really helped me along the path of kind of developing the leader and the person that I wanted to be. I don't want to yell and scream at people. It's not my style.
mhm.
It's, okay, what did you do or what didn't you do that you were supposed to that led us here? Okay, you didn't do this. Come on, you know better, right? And some people are going to take that very, very well. And we've been lucky that we haven't had a lot of people that kind of just shrug it off and, but there's that option as well.
Of course, of course. Yeah, no, if she's, I love that there's so much emphasis put on environment and giving people a great place to come to
For
work
sure.
every single day. I do think that's and it's funny. I've spoke to a lot of business owners, and it's general. A lot of them have a very similar. The ones that you generally want to work for are the people who you talk about, where you're like, yeah, it might not even be in our favor, and we might get taken advantage of, but we're doing the right thing, and there's a certain value set there that I think that goes a long way. And I do think that there's a higher percentage of those people that actually would fight for you because they go, well, Brent would do this and he has done this and I've seen him get taken advantage of. That won't be me, or that won't be me. And they approach that in a better situation or a better way. Let's talk from an earning perspective for your people, like who, like what, and I don't need exact numbers, but
Yeah.
on the high side, like what if somebody wanted to get into the business and they were like, wow, 5 years down the road, what could they expect to make as a high performer?
Multiple hundreds of thousands a year. So like, and like, I, I'll use myself for an example. Like if I was paid commission on a book of business that I have right now, I manage about 6 million in business, in clients' business essentially. I'd be making about 400 or 500 grand a year. I do not make that. Myself and Graham both take a very, very modest salary. And the reason we do that is we pay out quarterly bonuses. We bought a new office. We want to be able to give our staff raises. And I mean this in like the most un egotistical way is me making 400 or 500 grand a year doesn't change my situation.
Correct.
It doesn't do anything crazy. They say money can't buy you happiness. I disagree in a sense. It can buy you like some comfort and
Of
some,
course.
security. I have that.
Time.
Time, yeah. So, we don't we pay ourselves a very modest salary in order so we can scale at this size. If me and Graham were both making, $500,000 a year, it would be very, very difficult to bring on people and do that and have the flexibility to do that. Um,
100%.
but, I'll give you like and this will mean nothing to most people, but, after that 3 years, you will have about between 1.8 and $2 million book. Okay. You'll probably have about 800 to 1,000 clients. You would make about 150 grand a year on that as a salesperson. Now, the other thing is on the processing side, what we do there is because obviously they're not paid commission. We pay out large quarterly bonuses based on how we do every single quarter. And to give you an idea, like last quarter, and there's nothing like that in our business. Like I 10 owners of offices and they're like, how is your retention for clients so high? How is your retention for staff so high? And there's no right answer per se, but we take care of them, sure, monetarily, money wise, but
Yeah.
hey, I can't make it in today. My kids, like, I know it sounds like very small, no problem. Feel better. Have a great day. And when you're at an office with 4 or 5 people and someone's away, like that's a big deal. Like you're kind of screwed for that day. We're lucky enough now we've got to a size where we're missing one or two or three people. Like, yeah, it
Doesn't
sucks,
mean
but
as
like
much.
the train goes on.
The value of scale, right? The value of
Yeah,
scale.
and the other thing is what's really cool. So every quarter we pay all these bonuses. It's actually my favorite time of, I guess, the quarter is at the end of the month. We kind of tally up all the new business we did, whatever the case is, and we paid out just last quarter like 70, 80 grand. I think it was like $77,000 in bonuses. So I mean, it was fantastic to be able to do that, and it's selfishly from like a retention standpoint, like if you're making your 60, 70, 80 grand a year, and then you're going to get your 15, 20 grand a year in quarterly bonuses. There's most insurance brokerages, like a broker, and I'm not going to beat up because I don't want their lawyers to send cease and desist letters, but certain banks that do insurance, they might pay their staff like 45, 50 grand a year, which is fine, sure. No room for growth, no nothing, and that's it. That's all they make.
No
You
skin
know,
in the game either, in a sense.
no, no. And so, we're significantly higher than that, especially for people that have been here like 2 or 3 years. It's very hard. Like when you first get into insurance, like you're not making a ton of money, honestly. Like, but your first year, you're going to make, 45, 50 grand a year, let's say, brand new, not knowing anything about it. And it's not about that. It's about like learning, gaining skills, and advancing, right? But that is the one thing that not necessarily bothers me, but I find is the biggest difference between people that, are successful and the people that are kind of just, treading water is they're willing to put in like a year or two or three or whatever the case is to, actually be an expert in their field or to be really good at their job or whatever the case is. Where I don't know, maybe our parents said this about our generation, but I don't know what it is, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong, but the younger generation, like they want to be given everything before they've done the work that, so it's like, it's just so backwards to me. It's like, no, 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 you put in the work, you put in the work, you put in the work, you get the reward. Why do you get the reward first and then say, oh no, then I'm
100%.
going to put in the work? It's a very weird, and I'm not saying that's everybody, but that's, I interview a lot of people, obviously. And I find that's a lot of common, I'll get a resume, and you've hired a lot of people before as well. Why have you been at 7 different jobs in 2 years?
Right.
Oh, my boss is an asshole. Oh, this, it's like, maybe,
Sure.
maybe, but it's
Sure.
like, okay, at what point is it like, hey, should you just put in some, stay where you're at, put in some time, like, and maybe it's not the best place for you to be. Maybe it's not in the long run, but it's like you switching jobs every 3 or 4 months isn't gonna.
It's not benefiting you,
No,
right?
no.
And to continue to search for that place that you really want to be, it's likely they may not even want to take you on because you've
When I
bounced
see a
so
resume
much.
like that, I mean, I don't disregard them right away, but I'm like,
Of
what's
course.
going on here? Because
Well, and
like
there's a
that's the other,
common denominator, right? There is a person in there that is
there,
bouncing from those places. Like
there is,
all seven of your bosses were unhappy with you. Like I don't know,
there
or
is,
what you
and
were
then
you were unhappy with, I guess.
there's that point too. It's like, especially in our business, it's like it's gonna take, like, it honestly takes about 6 months, at least 6 months, to be like kind of like useful. And what I mean by that is like to be competent, to stand on your own feet, to kind of know what you're doing. So we're going to invest this time and money and whatever into you just so you can kind of give up. You know what I mean? Like it's not for everybody, but it's like, man, what I tell all my staff when I bring them on, I'm like, give it a year. Your first 6 months, your head's going to be spinning. There's so much information. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You give it a year, and I promise that will change. And almost every single time it does.
We're coming up on time here because I've taken a
Sure.
lot of your time. I
Yeah,
really
no
appreciate
problem.
it. I want to, and I'd love to even do this again. I think Brent deserves a round two if he's got the time for us. When it comes to, because I know there were times where you were sort of working from home. Do you guys offer for your new staff or any staff sort of
Interesting
a
you bring
hybrid
that up.
workplace? Or
Interesting you bring that up. I
I ask all the right questions, right?
hate the work from home stuff. Now, do we do it? I can't, especially if you're here for the first like year or two. I mean, I kind of sound like a hypocrite. Yes and no. It's for the right person. And I want all my staff here every single day because the amount of like co-op that goes on in the bullpen and every, like, that's needed for you to kind of learn and grow and whatever the case is. Now, people like Tori, for example, She actually moved to Lethbridge like 4 years ago and was living there for like 3 years. Finally, we kind of like got to a point where we're almost like 30 people. I'm like, we need you here. Like, what do we have to do? So a deal was broke, or a deal was broken, or whatever the case is. And we were lucky enough that she agreed. She sold her house. She moved back to Airdrie, and she's in the office every day. Now she has 3 kids. Her husband works with us as well. They're awesome. They're the best. But sometimes she has to work from home. It just is what it is. She'll work from home. Some of our processing team, the amount of new business we're writing, they just can't get to it in a day. And I'm very lucky that a few of them will take 2 or 3 hours a night if they have to get caught up for the next day. Now they don't have to do that, but it sets them up really good for the next day. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't reflected in their quarterly bonus, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's that give and take, right? We open at 9. Not everyone shows up at 9. Sometimes the roads are shit. Sometimes there's traffic. Sometimes you have like. I remember my boss used to stand at the front door at 9 o'clock, and I was like mind blown. One more quick story. This actually is the day I decided to leave.
Okay.
That kind of reminded me is I remember one day I started at the office at 7 a.m. It was a Friday. Oh no, sorry, it was a Thursday, and it was towards the end of the month. And as you know, in dealerships, towards the end of the month, you're pushing rides, right? You're trying to get them sold and rolled. So that was always the busiest time for me as well. So it's 7 a.m. I'm sitting at my desk. I did 22 auto policies that day. Absurd amount. So I averaged about, let's say, 130 to 150 month new business. That day I did 80,000. That one day. So I am so buried. In at that time, what happened is the last day of the month you got paid. Now I stayed until like 1:30 in the morning to get all that paperwork sent into the insurance company, so it's reflected on my paycheck the next day, right? So I leave the office. I probably get home close to 2 in the morning. I've been there since 7, but I killed it. I'm like thrilled. So I go to bed. Obviously, I wake up a little late. Like I've slept through my alarm. I was bagged, whatever. I get there like, keep in mind, I've never taken vacation. I never take days off. I work on weekends, whatever. I get my paycheck, and at the time, I was paid commission almost all. I had like a tiny salary. It was something like just the minimum wage that he
Yeah.
legally had to pay me. And there was like my check, and then it was like minus like $50 or something. And I was like, oh, I thought it was like benefits or something. And I was like, oh, what is this? And he's like, oh, like you were 45 minutes late today, so I docked your pay. And I was like, for the whole day? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, just so you know, like, I don't want to get into it with you, but I was here till like 1:30 yesterday because I did 80,000 in business, and I apologize. I just slept in a little bit. I was a little tired from working 20
Till
hours.
2 a.m.
He was like, oh no, like I'll get that changed. Don't worry about it. I was like, you know what, man? It's fine. You could
It's
just
all
leave it.
good.
And that was kind of the day where I decided I was just like, I get it. I should have been on time, but I'm just like, where's the give and take? So that was the day I realized, and I called Graham the next day and I was like, hey man, do you still want me? you know, what is it? 9 years later, we're kind of down the path together now, right? So, but yeah, it's
Well,
interesting.
I yeah, and I suggest you're right. For the right person, people who have established, who do the right things, who work hard. And this is something I've learned, in my time of doing business. Like I think flexibility is one of the biggest bonuses that you could give an employee. Because you're right, things happen. And I remember I had a sales manager in my office one day, and he's like, I'm fired up. I'm angry. There's only one person here, and the other three are, late. And I said, okay. And I looked outside and I went, there's about a foot and a half of snow
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
And he goes, I know, but like, and I go, and that person that came on time is sitting there doing nothing. Like, do you have customers in the show? I'm like, what are you so upset about? And I said, here's the piece that I'm always mindful of, because I could never live with myself if I rushed an employee into work and they got into a car accident and got hurt.
of
I could
course.
never. And
No,
the other side is of, if I'm looking around at a showroom full of people and I have, that's one, when a manager is to step in and take care of those clients and make sure they're taken care of. But also a manager to step in and support those other three people who, okay, if they're late every single day, different conversation. If they're not hard workers or they don't do, or they weren't there late. And it's funny because two of those three were there late the night before. And I said to him, like, whoa, you like, give them time. And what I said is, you could lose it on them and they can completely be there on time all the other times because it's what disciplined people do or hardworking people do. Or you can say, hey, would you guys do me a favor and just take a little bit of ownership and say, if four of you guys are at home and two of you are going to be late, make sure the other two are going to be there, and just like take the ownership of it, and
Sure.
like back each other up and find ways to do things.
You don't have to be involved in it. Yeah.
That's
100%.
right. And I said that there's a way there to give people ownership, flexibility, but also
You
guess what?
empower
If
them.
that's right, and to empower them. And to me, like that is the key to, well, we're all grown-ups. We all want to perform well. We all want to make money. We all want to make a living. We all want to, but also want to take care of our families. And if we don't provide that, especially in today's day and age, and I agree with you that working from home and some of those things, it probably delays the process of getting somebody up to par, because that, like you
It
said,
does.
the
And I
brokering
will
and bringing
say,
people
not to
together,
interrupt you, I
right?
will say
No,
probably
you're good.
half our staff do have like work from home setups that we got for them.
Sure. Right.
They put in their dues. They put in
Yeah.
their time. They're not that we don't trust everyone, but it's like they put in the time. And now my intention is that they're here Monday to Friday, not because I just need you in your desk, but other people need you. You're a leader, you know, whatever the case is. But
100%.
your kid's sick, you know, whatever reason, the TELUS guy is coming. Sure, work from home.
Yeah.
If you're sick, just be sick. Get
Yeah.
better. Like don't work from home. So
100%.
I mean, it's a weird. I'm bullish on the whole thing, I guess,
Yeah.
but definitely people here have the ability to do that. But the full remote position, it's just not something I'm ever going to be interested in. And it's not because I don't think they're doing the work per se. You don't get to build that rapport and that, cooperative environment and get
100%.
to know your team if you're
Yeah.
just kind of meeting like this, which there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but you don't
Yeah.
get to kind of see everything else, right? So,
There's
um,
no touch there. There's no, even doing this. And I'd hope even for the next time that you and I do this, we can do it in person, because I think
yeah,
that'd be great.
we
But
will.
there is something to be said about that energy. The last thing, well, two things. One, who are the shout outs? Obviously, Mama's on there, and
Mom is on there. Mom is, yeah, mom is an angel. She just moved actually from Calgary, like our home that we lived in from, man, I was like 8 to Airdrie, which is nice.
geez, nice.
She's the best. Anything I asked for, anything I wanted ever, like when I wanted to help or buy this office, I needed money.
Yeah.
The bank of mom was more than willing, which she didn't have to be, right? It's not a sure
Well,
thing.
that's incredible. Yeah.
So, mom, my partner Graham, he's the man. He's probably, I mean, I have a lot of good buddies. He's probably my best bud. We see each other every day. We work every day. A lot of this would be a lot more challenging and difficult without doing it with him. So having that, we golf all the time together. Like we're literally, I mean, his wife probably doesn't love it, but she's awesome. But we're literally together more than any two humans are together, right? So and then just the rest of my team. I could name 20 other names, but everybody that works here, they mean a great deal to me. And I'm happy that I get to work with like quality individuals like themselves every single day. And then I guess just the last is all of our clients for putting their trust in us, right? But that's a long list.
Yeah.
But
100%.
that's really it, man. Just like my mom and pretty much, I guess my partner, right? So, and then there's so many people in between, but yeah, I'll have to think about that one on the
That'll be
next one.
next time. That'll be
Yeah.
next time. And the last one is just, what's the message, man? What's the message to the world, the youth, the people, not necessarily just about business, but people who want to end up in the same seat that you're in one day, or want to just do well in business and in life? Because clearly, and I'll give you kind of the background. The background for this podcast is people who have, yeah, essentially come from next to nothing or nothing, and sort of built it from the ground up. And you're with a nice long list of really good entrepreneurial minded people. So like, what's the message to all the young people that want to end up where
It's
you are?
interesting. Again, I'll have to get back to you on that per se, but I came to a point about 6 years ago where I was working here with Graham and his dad, and I was like, I want to do my own thing. I'm ready to be the boss, essentially. I'm ready to be the man. And after a lot of conversations with Graham and whatever the case is, and we can do more together. So, you know, finding a person in business, it's tough sometimes, right? Finding someone that you can trust. I trust him more than anyone. So, and that's hard, right? Especially when you're talking
100%.
about, millions of dollars and all this good stuff. So, I wanted to go off on my own. I was like, hey, I can do this by myself. I came to the realization I couldn't get to the size that I wanted to get by myself. And the things that I do very well, he also does well in, but he really excels in the things that I lack. I guess this kind of sounds like a marriage almost, but it kind of is. But he
Isn't
really
it?
excels. Yeah, he,
Yeah,
he
isn't it?
really excels in a lot of the things that I'm not, like speaking. Like I am not the best or well-spoken individual. He's very good at that, and a lot of other things. But I guess the message is to find that person or that team, or and grow with them. You don't always have to do everything by yourself. Asking for help is okay, and I asked for a lot of help down the road. Like when we were like, I think we had one Google review. I was like, Drew, I need you to leave a 5-star Google review. We're like our second or third ever Google review. Now we're
Yeah,
over 1,000. So,
yeah.
that forward momentum really helps. So, I mean, I know it's not, you know, the greatest advice, but
No, I think that's great
I
advice.
don't believe you can always do it by yourself. I believe you can get up every day, put on your pants, go to work, kill it by yourself. But, if you have goals and dreams, and, you're going to need some people in your corner. So, decide who those people you want them to be.
That I know you think that's short, but I think that's great advice because I think that there are so many people in today's world that believe, and I'll be open. I was one of them. I woke up and there was a time where I just said, you know what, screw those people, and those people treated me like this, and those people told me that, and played with. Yeah, but you're right. There's still people out there that you align with that have similar values that you can trust wholeheartedly, and if you find them, just like love, just like marriage, just like relationships, those are all things that you go, okay, that is somebody I need to stick with. And that's someone I need to work with. And that's someone I need to sacrifice for as well, because they would do the same for you. So I think that's
100%.
incredible advice. I think today was amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Dude, sorry, I
I
know I
really
talked a
appreciate
lot.
it.
There's just so
No,
much to.
no,
I mean, just like
no, no,
any
no.
time we get together, it's like four
It's
hours or something
crazy.
like that, right?
It
So
goes really quick.
it's
But that's why I did this. That's why I wanted to do this. And next time we will do it in person. I'll
yes,
have some other questions for you that I think we'll dive in a little bit deeper to some stuff, but I really appreciate you. I'm more than happy and proud for you. I think that's such an awesome journey that I got a chance to sort of witness and see. And I remember the first insurance place you were at, I think I popped in one day and I was bugging him like, yo, this is your spot. And we ended up, yeah, I've been a client ever since. And I'm so happy to see that because it's always nice to see those things in their inception or in their initial stage and grow into something amazing. And
it's
here's
crazy.
the
Yeah,
thing
I
I'll
can't
tell
believe
you.
it's been 13 years. So
Yeah.
it's nuts.
And I have no doubts you guys will get to 100 mil. So
Thanks, brother. I
congrats,
appreciate
brother.
that, man.
Yeah. Thank you.